Hello everyone, I'm the Echoes of Geckos, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about my transition. For those who don't know, Trans Day of Visibility was about a week ago, March 31st. It somehow sneaks up on me every year, and I never have anything prepared in time. Regardless, it got me thinking, and I want to put this video out there just to share my own experience as being a trans man and a non-binary person, maybe give someone else some insight, or if nothing else, have this video to look back on for myself. Before we get into it, let me explain a little about the drawing on screen. I post about my webtoon pretty often on Tumblr and Reddit, and one of those posts got a comment that really made me laugh. I don't know if it's because of my art style in general, or just the character design, or what, but apparently Silas and Kane looked just feminine enough that this person thought the comic was Yuri. And of course now I gotta draw that. So this is Callie and Sylvia, gender-bent versions of my main characters. I thought it was a fun bit of footage for a video about changing genders. Oh, and if you want to check out the actual characters, the link for my webtoon is in the description. So for anyone watching this video with absolutely zero knowledge about this kind of thing, I'm gonna throw out a couple basic terms and what they mean. My hope is to answer some questions others might have about what it means to be transgender or non-binary. Obviously, I'm not the ultimate authority on the subject, every person is going to be different and have their own unique experience, but we can only learn about those stories if people share and listen, so I'm here to share mine. So, as I was saying, basic terminology. I describe myself as transmasc and non-binary. What this means is that I'm transgender, I transitioned from female to male, but there's a little bit more nuance in the way I feel and how I express myself. There are days I feel like the manliest man to ever walk this earth, and other days when I feel like my definition of masculinity doesn't really fit what the rest of the world thinks of as manly. Sometimes being trans gets really simplified in a sense, and I get why, I really do. For someone who's never heard of being trans or struggles to understand gender as a spectrum, it's easier to think of it as just a switch from boy to girl, girl to boy. Pink and blue, there's two teams and you pick one. And for some trans folks, it really is that simple. They were born as one gender, they transitioned, the end. But here's the thing, it's not always that simple. Humans are complicated and nuanced, and every single person is different. There are so many ways to express yourself, and so many ways to express your gender. And genuinely, I understand that can be confusing and potentially overwhelming if you're not used to thinking of gender as a spectrum. Let me tell you about my own journey, and learning about different terms and labels, and slowly exploring my place in them. It was all pretty overwhelming for me when I was first introduced to the concept of being trans. I was 17 years old the first time someone asked me what my pronouns were. I was at this summer camp type of thing called the Governor's Honors Program. It was like a super nerd camp for high-achieving students all over the state. It was less cabin-in-the-woods summer camp and more stay in a college dorm, study abstract math, and write poetry that a normal public school would censor immediately. The big overarching theme of every lesson was to use critical thinking, ask questions, pose challenges to your beliefs, and see what holds up and what should change. I loved it. I still remember the math concepts we talked about, and I still have some of the stories and poems I wrote there. That camp was also where I had two major realizations about myself. The first was that I was not a straight girl. I always kinda knew in the back of my head that I found girls attractive. I'd had a few crushes through middle school and high school, but it wasn't until I met a girl at the Governor's Honors Program and we had a conversation that it really clicked in my mind. Bisexuality was real, it was a label I could use, and it was one I wanted to use for myself. I don't consider myself bi anymore, but that's the cool thing. Labels can change as you learn more about yourself. The second thing I learned was, on top of not being a straight girl, I didn't have to be a girl. Again, this was the first instance where someone asked what my pronouns were, instead of just looking at me and assuming I was a girl. I had no idea how to respond back then. I kinda panicked and just said I spoke English. Still have no idea why that was my answer. I guess my brain decided pronouns meant grammar and grammar meant language? I don't know. I still think back on that conversation and cringe a little at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I'm still grateful to that person for asking, because it was the start of asking myself. Did I have to default to being a girl just because I was born female and looked feminine? My interests and personality could grow and change as I got older and learned more about the world, so why was gender something that had to be set in stone from the second I was born? I went home at the end of the program, still questioning, but not really sure what labels fit me, or even what options I had. In October of that same year, the Rocky Horror Picture Show was on TV for a Halloween event, and I loved it. You're telling me a man can wear a dress and look hot while doing it? Not just a cheap joke that only lasts a few seconds and never gets mentioned again? It blew my tiny mind. One of the songs from the movie really stuck with me. These terms are pretty outdated now, the movie came out in 1974 after all, but the main character described himself as just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Behold, two shiny new words for 17-year-old echoes of geckos to research. I started questioning if maybe I was a transvestite, because I was a girl, but always felt more comfortable in a t-shirt and jeans. I liked baggy styles that completely covered my body and hid my figure. I wanted ripped-up, dirty cargo pants and a hoodie 3 sizes too big for me, and I didn't see many other girls who matched that style. At least not as much as I saw boys at school wearing those clothes. So I went from straight girl to bisexual transvestite girl. 2 years go by, and I still consider myself a transvestite bisexual, though by this point I'd started wondering if pansexual fit me better. And I was drawing myself as a boy. By this point I was starting to write fan fiction and make fan art, and in stories I'd write myself with he/him pronouns, but I'd only show a few trusted friends and partners. I even toyed with the idea of calling myself Elliot, because it seemed like a good boy version of my dead name. But it all still seemed like fantasy, something to read about and draw in my private sketchbook, but not a reality I could actually live. Until college. I got accepted into a nice university and earned enough scholarships to stay in the dorms there. And as part of their new student orientation, there was a section about diversity. It was just a simple couple of paragraphs talking about, respecting other people's pronouns and some basic terms like transgender, cisgender, non-binary, and genderqueer. The term genderqueer really stuck out to me because my university defined it as a person who is questioning their gender or doesn't feel like other labels fit their gender identity. That really felt like me at the time, questioning and uncertain. So I went into college as bisexual, genderqueer, and by then I'd started realizing that I didn't like the she/her pronouns. It didn't feel right anymore, it didn't fit. No one at this new university knew me, so it felt like the perfect time to introduce myself under a new name and new pronouns. I went by L, like literally just the letter L, and yes, I did constantly get compared to the character from Death Note, or 11 from Stranger Things. Fun times. I started using they/them pronouns and just dipping my toe into transitioning. I joined the university's LGBT club and was introduced to some upperclassmen who kinda took me under their wing and answered my questions. I'll forever be grateful to them for all of their help, and for the way they answered my questions honestly and never judged me for how little I really knew. It's hard to believe 7 years have gone by since those early days. I've learned so much more about queer history, about what being queer means to me, and about what labels fit me the best. I've gotten top surgery, started hormone replacement therapy, changed my name, and just so many other things that make me comfortable in my own skin. Sometimes it's easy to forget that it took me years to get to this point, and the terms I know so easily now aren't common knowledge. If I went back in time and told myself at age 17 that at age 26 I'd be calling myself a transmasculine, non-binary, boy flux, omnisexual aromantic, my past self would probably go cross-eyed from pure confusion. If you've never heard those terms before, it's like picking up a quantum physics book for the first time. You need time to learn if you want to understand. I'm barely scratching the surface with this video, and I could definitely make more videos talking about this subject. So I want to take the opportunity to open the floor for you guys. If you've made it this far into the video, you've earned the chance to ask me pretty much anything. But quick disclaimer to that. Not every trans person is going to be comfortable with questions like that. We're people too, and entitled to keeping our private lives private and off the internet. Just because I'm comfortable sharing and educating doesn't mean everyone else is going to be. But if you guys have questions, this is your blanket permission to ask me. Private, personal, or even weird questions. The only rules are to please be respectful with what you ask, and understand I can still refuse to answer if I decide I'm not comfortable with specific questions. I've already got some future topics in mind, like how I felt coming out to my friends and family, my favorite things about being trans, and more details about medically transitioning. So if any of those interest you, please let me know in the comments so I can figure out which ones to talk about first. And remember, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss those videos when they come out. Until then, I hope this video helps someone out there feel less alone about their own confusion. Whether you're trans yourself, or you think you might be trans, or if you just know someone who's figuring their gender out and you're trying to learn so you can support them. It's okay to be confused about things you don't know yet. You're doing great, okay? The most important thing is that you want to learn and you're trying. And while you're figuring this all out, remember to drink water, love yourself, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye!